Okay, in this video we're going to look at how to add content to our page. So this will be text and images that we want on the page. So we know that we've got our navigation menu in. Our navigation menu is actually in this div here. Although it appears at the top, that's because we're in live view. In live view it's showing how it's going to appear on the browser, so it's fixed to the top of the browser window, but actually that is sitting inside that top div, and that's where we nested it. So don't get caught out by that. We know that this second div is where our banner is going to go, so it's important you know your structure and your layout that you've created. So my banner is going to go in here. I'm just going to click on that div to highlight it, and then I'm going to go to Insert and choose Bootstrap Components, and on here I need to create a responsive image. So I'm going to click on the little drop down menu here, and I'm just going to choose default. So I just want an image to go in there, but the key thing here is that by choosing a responsive image, Bootstrap will then add some code that will automatically resize that image as it is viewed on different screen devices with different screen sizes. So default, and I want it to nest, so I want the image to sit inside of this div, so nest inside of there. In goes my image. This is the class that's been added, which is called img-responsive. That will make that image respond to any kind of screen size. Now what I need to do is, rather than it using this placeholder image, I need it to use the image that I want it to use. And I can do that by clicking this little sort of drop down menu here. These three lines indicate that there's a menu here, and if I click on that, it then says, okay, what's the source of your image? And it's created this placeholder image, but I can click here to browse, and I know that in my images folder here I've got my banner, which is the Disney banner, and I'm going to click open to that. So that goes in. I can also add in some alternative text here, which is used for accessibility features. So I'm going to type in there just Disney banner, and if you wanted to link it, you could also link it as well. But basically there goes our image, and that image is now preset to shrink and expand automatically according to the screen size. Okay, so if we move on to the next bit is I need some text and a heading to go in here, and a YouTube video to go in this side. I'll do the YouTube video in a separate video, so we're just going to focus on text and images in this particular video. So I've got this div selected here, and if we have a quick look at our website that we're planning to build, you can see there's our banner that we've just put in at the top there, and this is the text, and that I need to go into that div that's sitting on the left hand side. So it's got a heading and it's got some paragraph text. So on this choice here now, I need to switch back out of Bootstrap components back to HTML, because what I want to do here is I want to add in a heading and I want to add in a H2. So these are different size headings, H1 being the largest. Later on we can use CSS to tell it how big we actually want this heading to be. But I'm going to put in a H2, and I want it to nest, so I want it to sit inside this div. There's my H2 heading, and then I'm going to insert a paragraph tag, and that needs to go after the heading. So I'm going to choose after, and in goes my paragraph. Now what I need to do is replace the default text with the text that I want to appear, and I've got that text in a Word document. So if I just scroll down here, so I want it to say Walt Disney Company, so I can actually type that in here now. So I can just highlight the text that's in here and type in Walt Disney. Let's double click it. Forgot to double click it. Remember, double clicking accesses the text editor, which gives you this orange box. So Walt Disney Company. And then I can come out of there and then double click inside my paragraph tag, and this time I'm not going to type all of that in, I'm going to copy and paste it. So I'm just going to grab this text here, Control C or Command C, and again let's just go in and Command V, and in goes that text. And what you'll see is that it's restricted to the 6 column width, and over here is the div that we're going to put the YouTube video in later on. The next div that's sitting down here is reserved for the carousel. I'll show that in another video. And then we've got our 4 sections here where we've got on our web design. So we're going to skip the carousel for the moment. we've got a heading, we've got an image, and we've got some text, and then we've got a button. So we now need to go through and create this in Dreamweaver. So picking up the first one of those divs, I then need to go and insert on HTML another heading, but this time I'm going to choose a slightly smaller heading, so I'm going to go for H3, and I want it to nest inside, so it's always nest to start with, and then after that it will be after to choose. Okay, so now that's selected there. I then need to insert an image, but I want the image to not be just a standard image, I want it to be a Bootstrap responsive image. In other words, I want it to be able to automatically resize as the screen size changes. So I need to switch back for the image to Bootstrap components and choose a responsive image. Now with the responsive image this time, I'm going to choose thumbnail. Now this thumbnail one, what that will do is it puts like a white border around the image. Rounded corners will make the edges of the images rounded, and then you can go for a complete circular image. So you don't have to create a circular image to start with in a graphics program like Photoshop. Choosing this will automatically make the image circular using Bootstrap. I'm just going to go for standard thumbnail, and I want it to appear after the heading, so that then goes in there. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the HTML, because I now need to add in some paragraph, some block of text, which is going to go after the image. And then I need to go back to Bootstrap, because I now need to add in a Bootstrap component, which is going to be a button. And there's a whole series of different kinds of buttons that you can choose from. They're basically different colors representing different features on a page, but we're just going to stick with the primary one. So I'm just going to click, and I want that to go after the paragraph. So there's my basic structure that I've got in there. Let's go through and change that. So if I have a look, it's the cars one first. Let's go through and make those changes. So if I come in here and double click, I can type cars. If I click on the image, I get my little menu come up that allows me to then go and choose the image that I want to go in there. So this is going to be from my gallery. I'm going to go into large and choose cars, and it fits the cars image in. And then I could also put in some alternative text, so Disney cars. And then if I come down here to the paragraph text, I double click that and I can highlight that, and I've got this in Word. I'm just using some lorem ipsum here that I got off the internet, in other words placeholder text, until I get some real text to go in there. So I'll just go back in and highlight that and paste in my lorem ipsum. For the button, I don't want it to say primary button, so I'm just going to double click to edit the text again, and if I just select that text, I'm going to say to it that I want it to be more info. Oops, let's type that correctly. And again, if you were to highlight that text, you could link it. So you could link it to a page where people can find more info. Okay, and that's basically the structure. I then need to repeat that for these other three sections. So I'm just going to do one more, so to run through it with you again, and then I'll do the other two later on. But basically you just need to repeat that structure. So let's do it once more. So I need to switch to HTML, because I need to put in a H3. So that's going to go and be nested. So the first one is always nested. Okay, and let's just find out what that should be called. So that's going to be Finding Nemo. So let's double click and edit that and change that to Finding Nemo. Okay, with that div still selected, the H3, I then need to go back to Bootstrap. I need a responsive image. I said thumbnail, and I need it to be after. So in goes my responsive image, and we know that is going to be Nemo. And then we'll change the alternative text to Finding Nemo. Okay, and then with that image selected, need to switch back to HTML. It's a little bit of switching around here between HTML and Bootstrap components, and I need a paragraph to go in. It to go in afterwards, and hopefully I've still got that text highlighted. So if I do Command V, it puts in the placeholder text. There we go. Back to Bootstrap components, and then I need my button. So let's put one of those in. It needs to go in after again, and we just need to change it to be more info. And again, you would then go on to the next section and repeat that, and then the next section and repeat that until you've got those all completed. We just have a quick look at that. So if we just do a file and a save, and then it's going to want to save the placeholder image. Although we're not actually using it, it still says it wants to require it and save it into our images folder. That's fine. We'll just click OK, and then we'll preview in the browser. So what does that actually mean? It looks here, look, this is the thumbnail effect. So by choosing that thumbnail option, it's put like this border with a little stroke around the outside of it to create like a little thumbnail image. If we chose the rounded one, it would be circular, and if we chose the rounded corners, it'd be quite rounded corners on all four edges. So different options that are available to you there for responsive images. Okay, we'll just close down that page and return to Dreamweaver. I'll let you finish off those other four. Basically, we need some text to go in here, but I think you've got the idea of how it works now. So there's more text that needs to go in here, there's more text that needs to go down here. Now in the footer area, there's going to be text which goes in, which is going to be a navigation menu, but you don't use that creating a nav bar. You just create the navigation menu by simply doing inserting HTML content into there. So if we go in and say that we want to put in there a paragraph, we're going to nest. Let's just show you how this is done. So have a quick look at what our website was saying. So it's got links, home, rides, hotels, travel and contact. So what I need to do in here is type in links, and then I'm just going to do a return. Rides, hotel, and then a return, travel and so forth, and you get the idea, and contacts. And then what you do is just highlight this individual line of text here and then hyperlink that and create a menu that way. So in the footer area you wouldn't use a Bootstrap menu because it would create one of these ones at the top that we got here. We just want a nice simple text based menu down the bottom here, and that's how you would create it. In fact, what I think I did in my website was, let's just have a look at it. I created these as headings. So what I would have done is in this text here, I would have put in a heading first and then put a paragraph underneath it, probably a H4 or a H5 heading, just to create these as a little bit more bold than the rest of the text. But that's how you get text and images into the containers that you've created for your responsive Bootstrap website.